Okay, so today I am going to be making this top that I actually have for sale up on my Etsy. This is how the pattern pieces look. I taped mine together and they look a little different here because this was my first draft of the pattern. So when you print it out, it will look a little bit different. But we've got our arm binding piece. We have two of those, and then we have the front and the back side of the top. This pattern does work best with stretch fabric, so this fabric does have quite a bit of stretch to it. You could have a fabric that's very stretchy to a little bit stretchy, but I think somewhere in between or on the more stretchy side is definitely the best way to go. So I am going to be using my serger for this, but if you don't have a serger, you can also use a regular sewing machine, so this is just optional, you don't need it. Okay, so to start, we are going to trace our pattern pieces onto our fabric and cut everything out. Okay, so this is how I traced it out. I wanted my top to be a little bit longer than the pattern is. The pattern is more cropped, but if you do want it longer, you can just extend on like I did here. And I just cut out with a large seam allowance. You don't have to have it this big, but I just like to make it big in case I mess up. And the same thing with, this will be the, I guess the head hole here, and then you have the armhole that will go here. So now we're going to attach our pieces together and sew. Okay, so this is how you are going to pin it together. I start by pinning the top, and then you are going to sew the sides together. So I just pin everything up, lining it together, and then I'm going to take it to the machine and sew along that top and the side edges. And then I always start by sewing the top part together, just that top small piece, and then I move on to the edge pieces. And I'm using a serger in this video, but you don't have to have one. If you have a regular sewing machine, you can just stitch along the edges just like normal. So that is optional. And once you have the top and the side stitched together, you are going to flip it to the right side so that those seams are hidden, and we're going to add our edge pieces. The thing you're going to do with the shorter armhole piece is you're going to fold it in half, and you're going to stitch right along this line here. So now that you have that stitched, you're going to open it and you're going to fold it in half. So this is going to be your entire armhole. So now, this is where you're going to pin this line up with the line on your armhole at the bottom, not the top, at the bottom. And you're gonna line it up and pin right there. And this is going to go all the way around and get pinned all the way around. So I'll show you once I've pinned it. Okay, so this is how it looks all pinned up. I definitely recommend poking your pins up instead of doing them sideways like this, because I find that it's a lot easier to pin that way. And because the fabric is stretchy, you are going to have these little bunches, and so when you sew, you're just going to pull it as you sew so that the bunch comes out as you sew. So now keep in mind the ragged edge of the folded over piece and the ragged edge of the armhole are going to line up together with your fabric facing right side out. So that seam is inside here, okay? So right sided out seam, and the edge is going to be facing in, okay? So that way, once we do our seam along the edge here and we fold this out, our seam is hidden. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew along the armhole, and then I'll show you how it looks. Okay, so this is what I mean how you're gonna stretch the fabric. So when I have it in, you see how it's got that bunch there? I'm gonna pull it as I sew so that that bunch is gone. And we'll just work our way all the way around, pulling as we sew. So you're going to flip this inside, and that's the stitch that's gonna rest on the inside, so that you're left with this nice finished edge. So this is the one shoulder side that your head is going to go through, and this is the armhole. So same thing with that side. Now the only part we have left is finishing off this end piece that's gonna rest on our stomach. So usually I will fold it in a tiny bit all the way around, and I'm going to do a zigzag stitch to keep it in place. That way the edge is just hemmed up. I do use my regular sewing machine. A lot of them will have this zigzag looking stitch, number 3. And you can also use a stretch needle, and that just allows your fabric to still have stretch when you wear it. Okay, so I folded it up along the edge and did a stitch, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it one more time. So one more fold over and stitch, just so that that raw edge is hidden. You can see since I folded it over twice, now you do have that raw edge hidden, and you're gonna have that nice clean stitch on the front. So this is how your finished top is going to look, super cute, and you do have this nice finished edge for your armholes. Now, of course, these edges will kind of flip up a little bit when it is laying flat, but of course when it's on, those edges will not be flipped up like that. They will be stretched out. That's just because when we sewed it, we did pull our fabric, so you are gonna have kind of a wavy seam, but you do not see that when you wear it. So this is a pink one, and I'm gonna show you guys a black one that I made to show you how it looks on. Okay, so this is the black one. I don't have the pink one on just because it was see-through and I didn't feel like putting on a bra to show you guys. But this is how the pink one looks. So super cute. You can make them in any color. And this pattern is on my Etsy, which I will link in the bio below. I do have a small, medium, and a large. I bought about a yard of fabric to make this, but really I used maybe half a yard to make it, not even. So if you buy a yard, you will be able to make, I would say 2, maybe 3 of these tops. So that is what I usually do. You could buy just half a yard and make it with half a yard, or you can buy a yard and have extra in case you mess up and want to try it again.